Hello and welcome to this Quick Strike After Action Report. The year is 1944. We're on the Gothic Line as a reconnaissance troop of the Allies Task Force 45 is conducting a probe into a remote mountain village. Little do they know, they're about to stir up the Hornet's Nest. This solo game is played out by David Larkins using the Chain of Command skirmish rules from Two Fat Lardies. We have more battle reports coming in the future, so make sure to subscribe to keep up with all of our latest videos. So now let's get things over to David, who's going to let us know what the Gothic Line actually is and why Task Force 45 is fighting there. David?
In September 1943, the Allies launched their invasion of mainland Italy. By June of 1944, the Allies had taken Rome, but retreating German forces were able to fall back to the Gothic Line, whose entrenchments and fortifications, dug out and erected by thousands of slave laborers, ran from just north of the historic cities of Pisa and Florence to south of Rimini on the Adriatic coast. By this time, Allied armies had hit the beaches of Normandy, and another amphibious invasion of France, Operation Dragoon, was soon to come. With the fighting along the Gothic Line grinding on, several divisions were pulled off the Italian front in preparation for Dragoon. This naturally left a manpower shortage for the Allied armies in Italy, and commanders were forced to get creative. Thus was born Task Force 45. With Göring's Luftwaffe largely neutralized, thousands of anti-aircraft gunners, American and British alike, received hasty training as infantrymen. Joining them were elements of the 92nd U.S. Infantry, the famous Buffalo Soldier Division, as well as 3 battalions and a cavalry reconnaissance troop from the 1st Brazilian Division, only recently arrived in Italy. As autumn waned, and with winter on the horizon, this disparate force, in cooperation with local Italian anti-fascist partisans, was ordered to hold the line and conduct probing attacks against the 51st Mountain Corps, a combined German-Italian force made up of veterans of the Eastern Front, static infantry divisions, and seasoned mountain troops. Partisans have reported activity around the village of Gozzelino, formerly the site of an Italian general's headquarters, now thought abandoned by the Axis forces. Segundo Tenente Ronaldo Falcao and his men push up the dirt road towards the old estate, eyes peeled for signs of enemy activity.
This battle sees a German grenadier platoon list from the free One Tough Gut PDF facing off against a platoon list of Brazilian cavalry recon. Links to both platoon lists are in the description below. The Brazilian cavalry recon platoon has a lot of tactical flexibility, and here David decided to deploy them in 3 mixed teams consisting of scouts armed with carbines, a mortar team, a .30 caliber medium machine gun team, a bazooka team, and an M8 Greyhound armored car. They have potential air support in the form of a P-47 Thunderbolt from the Brazilian Air Force's 1st Fighter Squadron operating in the area. The German platoon is, by contrast, understrength and underarmed, only able to field an extra MG-42 light machine gun team. Each squad, of course, carries a Panzerfaust 60 and 1 STG-44 assault rifle. The board depicts the environs of the fictional town of Gozzelino, typical of the mountain villages that dot this part of the Apennines. The scenario rolled is probe, which means the Brazilians have to get at least one team to the far side of the board, or else break the enemy's morale. The Germans merely have to prevent this. The patrol phase results in deployment points for the center of the Allied right flank of the board. Force morale favors the Allies, with the Brazilians starting at 10 and the Germans at 8. The plan is straightforward. Given the location of the jump-off points, the best shot for an Allied victory is to move through the open meadow across from the estate house, a walk in the park, or so it seems. The recon platoon moves cautiously onto the board, leading with a Greyhound and a scout team. The first German deployment is the extra LMG team, which sets up in a second-floor window of one of the houses in Gozzelino, from where it immediately opens fire. The Greyhound in turn begins peppering the building with light cannon and machine gun fire, setting up a duel that lasts the next few phases. Now the first German squad, screened by the trees along the stream bank, begins moving out of Gozzelino to get into position on the edge of the meadow. Directed by the platoon sergeant, the 30 cal hits the board, taking up a risky position along the edge of the main road through the town in hopes that it can silence the MG-42. Instead, one of their own crewmen takes a bullet from the German LMG. With the second German squad moving up along the stream, it's increasingly clear that the meadow will be a killing field. Just at this moment, however, the P-47 descends from the heavens, peppering the Germans with murderous fire, or at least it should be murderous. Some terrible dice rolling largely spares the troops, but there's the chance that the Thunderbird may return again. With his whole platoon now on the board, Foucault drives up to lend some close-in support. The Germans take a risk as well, deploying their senior leader into the building with the MG-42 team to better direct their fire. In so doing, they take the risk that their third squad will be delayed from deploying when the time comes. As the Germans keep watch over the meadow, the Brazilians start to make their move. Because most of the platoon deployed as parts of various weapon or vehicle teams, they have precious few regular infantry to attempt the run to the far side of the board. Nevertheless, a brave group of scouts dash over the high stone wall and, using the tall hill on the edge of the field for cover, make for their objective. Could this be the end game? On the other flank of the battle, the Greyhound puts the full force of its fire into the MG-42 team in the building, finally silencing it. The distraction allows one of the German squads to move close enough to use its deadly Panzerfaust, but the Greyhound's hull down position saves it as the rocket flies wide. With a lucky deployment roll, the Germans get their third squad onto the board, giving them total dominance of the meadow, and even a bit of inadvertent cover for themselves thanks to the second poorly placed smoke round from the Brazilian mortar. As the Brazilian scouts move in on their objectives, the Germans make a daring move. A shout of "Handgranaten" precedes a charge and a volley of stick grenades aimed at the Greyhound. Two grenades fall in through the open-top turret, and the M8 is quickly rendered a smoking wreck. The Brazilians along the meadow wall, including the much-reduced 30 cal team, unleash their fury on the Germans, sending them reeling back into the woods with heavy losses. However, the Brazilian force morale has plummeted and now sits at a precarious 5, dead even with the Germans. Worse yet, a hail of MG-42 fire from the squads along the stream has decimated the Brazilian scouts and sent the remnants scrambling behind the hill for cover. Things aren't looking good for the Allies. Fortunately, the Brazilians finally generate a chain of command die and use it to end the turn, which prompts a check for air support. Sure enough, like its namesake, the Thunderbolt comes roaring down out of the blue. This time, its cannon and machine gun fire is deadly accurate and carves a bloody path through the German lines. As the German senior leader moves up to remove shock and get his men back in the fight, the remnants of the Brazilian scout team move to the edge of the board and snatch victory from the jaws of defeat. The tattered men of the 232nd Infantry Division withdraw, yielding Gozzelino to the Allies, but satisfied that they gave the Brazilians a bloody nose at least. For Segundo Tenente Foucault, the victory is indeed bittersweet, having lost a Greyhound and 4 other men over the course of the firefight. However, this is compared against the 17 dead Germans littering the field around the village, losses the 51st Mountain Corps can ill afford.
Hey everybody, David Larkins here. I hope you enjoyed watching that as much as I enjoyed playing it. This was kind of a pilot program for us, so if you'd like to see more content like this, be sure and let us know in the comments below. And also remember to subscribe and click the notification button if you haven't already. Thanks so much. See you next time.